Hi, this is Gary Auden, and I'm bringing you an Educast, the digital transformation of the phone. And with me today is Cetis. And representing Cetis is John Grubb, Senior Vice President of Marketing. And as we usually do, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Because the phone has changed a lot, but a lot of people do not realize is we have a whole range of technology of phones from the earliest to the latest, all running at the same time. So let's go back and look at legacy phones and why are they still there. Then how did we get into the digital phone world, and what does that mean to the legacy phones? Now, one of the technologies you might not know about is called DECT. People call it DECT. It is a digital wireless phone system independent of Wi-Fi or local area networks, and it's well worth considering because it has very good quality. We'll move then into the IP phone and compare that with legacy phones. We'll talk about what a high-definition phone is and why is that different. We'll even bring up a very unusual offering called a single-use phone. And we'll discuss technology, features, and functionality. And John will talk about other features that are digital, but not directly with phones, such as charging and USB ports and the like. So let's start off. I'm going to bring up some comments about phones in general, and then we'll move into John's discussion. First of all, the legacy phone is an analog phone. It was analog end-to-end. The network was analog, right? The network was designed specifically for voice. Now, over the years, we did introduce some digital technology. We called it a T1, and later on we called it a PRI, primary rate interface. These were digital transmission facilities, but the phones were still analog. So the digital analog conversion was implemented in the central office. So the customer did not see digital, but the network was all digital. And we've had that for about 40 years. As we move on and look at the legacy phone, we'll find that it is a standard phone, one that everybody else had. They all worked together. There were no interoperability issues and the like. But when we introduced something like the PBX manufacturers decided they would provide digital phones at the customer or user's desk. These digital phones came in many forms. They were both proprietary, but not many standardized. When they were proprietary, some had proprietary signaling. Others had 2-wire, 4-wire, and even 6-wire connections. Some had 64 kilobit codecs, some had 144 kilobit codecs. So in other words, the proprietary or TDM phone was relatively unique and factored into the design of the PBX, and so you bought the phones from the PBX vendor because there was not a universal phone. However, during this time period, we did come up with a universal way of looking at digital phones called ISDN. ISDN, you may not have heard about, it's an older technology and did not do well in the US, it did better in Europe. Had an interface called a basic rate interface, BRI. This meant it was digital from the phone to the central office or digital from the phone to the TDM switch. It could handle 2 lines and it had a signaling path. It was completely different than the digital phones in the TDM world. ISDN was thought to be a really good growth factor in the US. It just didn't happen. Now, as we move from that type of digital phone, we talk about digital phones over wireless connections. And that's where DECT comes in. DECT is not the only technology out there. It actually started in Europe, and the E in DECT stood for European for quite a while. It did come into the US, but later than our cordless phones that we produced in the US. The latest version of a DECT phone is called 6.0. It's very high quality. One of the factors that makes it very attractive is that it is not interfering with Wi-Fi or any wireless LAN technologies. It uses different frequencies. And therefore, when you set up a DECT phone network, you don't need quality of service. It's dedicated to the voice communications. It's designed specifically for voice. It does have a codec on the phone that converts it usually into a standard 64 kilobit transmission. You can actually network a group of DECT phones together and have dozens, maybe even hundreds, all located in one area. I have a DECT phone at my own office, and one of the things I found is it's far superior to my previous cordless phones. One, for quality, but secondly, much longer distance, as where the previous cordless technologies were much more susceptible to building interference, walls, and the like. Now, we move into the next, which is the phone we're really dealing with today, and that is the IP phone. It is a phone with a codec in it, but it transmits quite differently than previous phones. It is not a continuous digital stream. The voice is packetized into 30 or 20 millisecond increments. We do these small increments because it reduces delay, and if one gets lost on an IP network, it's relatively easy to repair it. The codec could be the standard G711. It also could be proprietary. It all depends on who you're dealing with. The protocol that carries the voice may be new to you. It's called RTP, the real-time protocol. And the real-time protocol is designed to work over IP networks. Now that could be a wide area IP network, that could be a local area IP network. The earlier versions of the IP phones all had proprietary signaling. They had a variation of the standard H.323, but each variation was enough variation to cause interoperability issues. Today, most of these phones, certainly the ones that are coming onto the market, use the session initiation protocol to communicate its signaling. And because of the SIP signaling, we can do a lot more functionality than we could with previous signaling technologies. So SIP becomes sort of the de facto standard for interoperability, and there are a number of independent phone vendors that construct and offer SIP phones compatible with cloud services and a number of IP PBXs on the market. Now, what we've been talking about is regular voice quality. What I'm going to introduce now is what we call the high definition quality phone. It's still an IP phone. However, the codec is different. It's G.722, or it could be proprietary. What this does is it doubles the bandwidth of the voice sound. The typical bandwidth in the past, even with digital phones, was about 3.4 kilohertz. This doubles it to about 7 kilohertz, which means higher quality voice. I find it much easier to understand people with accents. It's not designed for music, but it does handle the sounds around you much better than the G711. The disadvantage of this kind of phone is it only runs over IP networks. So if you're using a high definition phone and it gets connected to the PSTN, it has to be down converted to G711. In other words, the bandwidth is restricted again. Same kind of packet technology we had in the past, the RTP packet carried over the IP network. Signaling is SIP again. So the HD phone is an IP phone that delivers high voice quality, but only within an IP network, whether that is a private IP network or whether that's a public network working through some cloud service, but it is not compatible with a PSTN. Now this is where I'd like John to come in, because he has some other comments about what we can add to phones that are digital technologies, but above and beyond the ones I've spoken of. So John, would you talk about the idea of putting a charging technology inside the phone?
Yes, Gary, thank you. The arrow points to the USB charging port on what we call the E-Series USB. It's a Teledex brand phone for us. And guests are bringing multiple smart devices. That translates into maybe 4 or 5 devices into the room. And it's really not age specific. You know, the idea that only millennials are the ones that are going to want the USB charging is not true. There are people of all ages that are bringing smart devices into the hotel guest room and into the office. And so providing the USB charging port convenience helps ensure a positive experience for the guest, whether they're there on business or for leisure.
Now, you had something interesting, and I didn't realize it before, is you can actually attach some technology to existing phones that also adds in the USB capability.
Yes, we call it USB series. It's a UCD 100 USB charging port, and they just clip on. No tools are required. They're available in Asher Black to match the existing phone that may be in the room, which may be a fairly legacy phone. And it's just easy to install and very inexpensive and useful. So again, if somebody doesn't want to upgrade to E-Series USB or M-Series phones that have built-in USB charging ports, they can add this onto their existing phones at an economy price point and really drive some better guest reaction.
Well, it also means I can keep my assets, because I look at a number of the costs of putting in new telephone systems. Half the cost is the phones now today.
Yes, we don't We don't believe phones are that expensive, but it depends on, what the situation is and how many are required. But this is definitely a good way to upgrade. If someone really doesn't have the budget to upgrade their phones or just wants to keep them, because so many of these phones last for years, and this is a great upgrade, and it's a convenience to the guests, and they're coming to expect it.
Yeah, another thing that I thought was very interesting is the next slide, where you actually add Bluetooth capability to your phone.
Yes, our Teledex M-Series Bluetooth phones operate on analog technology. They're not available in VoIP, but they operate on analog technology. And as you can see, there are 2 USB ports built into that phone. And the Bluetooth connectivity is really ideal for guests because they can pair their smartphone and it becomes a device that they can place and receive calls from. So in other words, if I go into the room and I pair my smartphone to the Teledex M-Series Bluetooth phone, then I can pick up the M-Series phone and I can dial calls, I can receive calls, but it's going over my personal network. But I have a nicer phone, I have a handset, and I can switch to speaker. And in this particular phone, you can enjoy enhanced speakerphone calls or stream music over a high-end speaker system.
Now, the next phone isn't really what I would call a digital phone, and it's actually not very modern, but it's got a new idea, and that is a single-use phone. Why would I want a single-use phone, and where would I apply it?
If you had someone in the hospital and they're in the patient room and they want a clean instrument to use day to day, or you as the overseer want them to remain healthy and not succumb to certain infections that may be possible through cross-contamination within the unit, then these phones are ideal. We call them single-use phones because it can be used for a single patient. They have a brand new phone. There are no germs from the previous phone. They have a brand new phone to use. It could come with a bed rail clip, or we have 2-piece versions, trimline type, if they prefer. But the single-use concept is good for the patient, it's good for the family, and it's good for the healthcare facility because it drives incremental revenue. And we have a free Excel calculator. We call it our healthcare phone calculator on the cytechhealthcarephone.com website that people can look at and do the calculation on what they can do with revenues.
Would you review the phones that you do offer in this environment?
We offer DECT phones in a variety of designs. In this case, we have the Teledex E-Series USB, which was shown on a previous slide. The M-Series Standard is available in DECT, and then our I-Series Opal and Telematrix 9600 series. So we have a number of different 5 design choices, all in the DECT cordless format. In the IP USB, we offer the Teledex E-Series USB in the IP, as well as M-Series in the IP. And then we offer the M-Series Bluetooth, which we talked about. And then the single-use phones, as I mentioned, are not limited to the one pictured, which is the H2109, but we offer earlier models, which are the H2001, which is a single or one-piece, and the H2000 VRI and H2000, which are 2-piece, like trimline phones.
Now, one of the things I get concerned about if let's say, a reseller or even an enterprise buying these technologies is, how do you go to market with this?
Well, if you really look at what Amazon's doing, the concerns are real. Online sales are really taking off, so traditional resellers are facing increased competition. I live in Illinois, and I think Amazon's working on their 3rd warehouse just in our state. So they're serious about selling phones as well as obviously thousands and thousands of other products. So a multi-market telephone strategy is important. We have to learn to broaden revenue sources and drive incremental sales growth. And some telecom resellers may have to get on Amazon or other online store-type environments in order to really compete.
Now, there are several markets that we've talked about in the past. What are the markets most important for what you're offering?
Right. We offer healthcare phones. Walmart can use our phones. Any hospital, long-term care, or nursing home can use our phones. K through 12, we sell wall sets, emergency sets, office sets for higher education. Dormitories like our phones, even though a lot of students come with their own phones, and some phones are being removed by the universities in favor of the smartphones that the students bring, we still sell those, and they're available in school colors with interesting faceplates and even colors. Government uses 2,500 sets, both wall and desk, as well as military. And we also sell our feature phones in military housing, particularly in the hotels.
That leads me into a question of, you're talking about selling this stuff. How does the marketing media change when you're doing this kind of selling?
Well, a lot of people are getting on LinkedIn because it's a global marketing facility that's able to deliver messages with pinpoint accuracy. They just added conversion tracking. I was on the phone speaking with our LinkedIn representative yesterday and just found out that they added conversion tracking, so you can post a campaign and send the conversion directly to a form and have people download something or respond or place an order. So for resellers with an aggressive growth plan, they really need to look at strategies like LinkedIn, certainly Facebook and Instagram and others are very useful as well. But this is an opportunity today to market internationally over social media and deliver leads from any geographic area, from any language group. We just recently posted a LinkedIn ad in Turkey. It ran for about a month, and we had excellent response to it because we translated it into the Turkish language, and people tend to appreciate that, and they want to be communicated with in their own language if possible.
Well, that leads me into the next slide, which really you're talking about solution selling rather than just product selling.
Right, that's why we offer so many design options. We offer 12 unique and distinct design families in ash and black, in IP and analog technology, and corded and cordless. So number one, if you're going to be operating in a multi-telephone sales strategy, you're going to need some design options to put out there, because designers are really having much more say, particularly in the hotel vertical, than ever before in the purchasing decisions for phones. Features are also important, and we talked about USB and Bluetooth. And when we talk to our customers, when we talk to our channel partners, when we talk to our own sales team, they tell us what customers are looking for and what they need. And we try to be sensitive to provide those important features for the guest to drive more guest satisfaction. And then, of course, feature analysis and model selection are important, and we're interop certified with all major PBX, IPPBX, and cloud system providers. So this helps provide an umbrella of products and technologies under a single selling solution.
If I might just add one comment, is what you're saying is the phone becomes part of the image of the organization.
It really does, and no more so than in colleges and universities. I remember we did a Chicago Bulls phone years ago in black and red. We provide phones, particularly in our Telematrix 9600 cordless and 3300 corded series that have handset inserts that you can buy in 7 standard colors or custom colors. So hotels can brand their brands. If it's Hilton, they can, choose to order a phone with a blue handset insert, for instance. So there's a lot of possibilities, and it's a lot of fun to have this kind of innovation and color and design technology behind you when you're going in to make the sale.
Now, all of this gets into the question of confidence. What's the confidence you provide for people who are buying these phones?
Well, although phones are relatively ubiquitous in terms of markets and applications, we think that clever leveraging of design and even faceplates and color, as I said, offer benefit and add value. Faceplates can be a great communication tool. Many of our phones, if not most, have a full faceplate area, and so a customer can develop whatever information they want, communicate it directly in the office, in the hotel guest room, in a school setting. And the popularity of telephone overall is growing. And even though the telephone has been much maligned, particularly the room phone in hospitality, research indicates that it's a very important emergency device, as you and I have talked before on EDUCAST. And it's an income producer because the speed dials can provide income for the property.
You mentioned the word benefits, and I think you have two lists here. Could you summarize those for us?
Many design options, faceplate branding, as I just said, color branding, which reinforces, branding can be reinforced by color, USB charging and Bluetooth, and of course application-specific solutions like the single-use phones. Those are some advantage for end users. For resellers, with Cetis, resellers, our channel partners have access to this complete line of telephones we're talking about with unique and useful feature sets at competitive price points. And we have the experience selling to vertical markets. So we can be a proactive partner with telecom resellers to help them sell more phones.
That leads into the question of, are you a worldwide organization?
We are. We're headquartered in Colorado. We're a U.S. corporation, but we have locations in the United Kingdom, in China, Malaysia, Dubai, and India. And we have warehouses and sales facilities in most of those locations, so we can ship locally. We're shipping over, as the slide says, over 900,000 phones, almost 1 million annually, and we have over 30 million installed globally, which really speaks to our experience. And out of that, we're probably supporting about 3 million phones every day. So all over the world, everywhere, we're still supporting as many as 3 million under warranty phones. So we're a powerhouse when it comes to telephony globally, and we feel that we're really invested globally to meet the needs of our customers wherever they are.
I'd like to point out to the viewers that there are a number of blog posts, newsletters, and product information. These resources available to you to learn more about what we've talked about in telephone technology and what we're talking about with the services and products that Cetis offers. If you need to get in contact with Cetis, it's nice that you can actually talk to John. Many times the people I record with are not the persons you can contact directly, but John has been very useful in the past providing information, and here's some other resources for you. Well, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much, John, for your time.
Thank you, Gary.